I got the AVIN unit, and I was going to install it about a week ago, and I did not like the way the connector plugged up to the back of this, and then you plug the original harness into that connector. There was just so much extra for, like, I think I have 6 wires that I have to deal with, and there's like 30 in these 2 connectors, and I don't use like a percentage of them. It's not even worth keeping the whole connector, and I'm going to show you that in a second. So I voted against it. I voted against installing the AVIN unit because it was such a... I just wasn't happy with the build quality for as much money as the darn thing cost me. So I asked my son if he wanted it, and my son is actually calling me right now. So I asked him if he wanted it, and he said yeah. And I said, well, I can install it and just cut the wires. I don't want to cut my factory wires, but I took all the plastic off of the screen. And when I did that, I got rid of the polarization from the factory. Whoever makes this thing for BMW, they have a polarization on it. And I wasn't aware. And I was trying to get rid of the bubbling on here. And everybody's like, just, take a couple layers off. And I tried that, and a couple more layers came off, and a couple more layers came off. I was like, yeah, screw this. I'm just going to take everything off and start from scratch. This is glass. And, the glass is pretty resilient. It has a lot of glare to it, but it's not going to bubble up, and you're going to be able to read it. The only bad part is, when I have this thing on, it's white. And I got polarization film today, and it's not 100% perfect, and I don't like it not perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut the wires and install my AVIN unit, and I'm just gonna do it my way, and I'm gonna document doing it my way, because doing all the extra wires that they want you to plug in there, or that you don't use, or that you might not use, or whatever, I just don't see it, quite honestly. They should tailor it a little more specifically to the what you have and what you want. You got to fill out the thing and get it kind of customized to your stuff. So not just do it really customized. So you got to take out these 2 screws here, these 2 screws here. This thing comes out. It's got 3 connectors on the back of it. I'm going to go through all that in a second. When you get these 2 screws out, you can pull this forward, but there's a push connector pin, a snap-in pin, like these are, because this does not require any screws to get out. You open your glove box, you grab it by the edge, and then you just tug on it a little bit, and the thing just pops right out. And no screws hold this in. And if you forget to open your glove box and you manage to get this thing out with your glove box closed, you don't have to plug it back in to take that thing off. So you end up closing this by accident, and you want to run stuff in there. There's an emergency release lever right there. You open that door, take that side cover off. It looks like this side cover here. You take that side cover off. There's a big ass loop. You pull on the loop, your glove box opens. Emergency release. It's in the owner's manual. I don't know why people don't use it. The owner's manual. Yeah, you have a lot of stuff in the owner's manual. Okay, I went ahead and stopped it and then called my son. So there's 4 screws to hold this in. There's one there, one on the other side, and then you look up, and there's another one there. It's kind of hard to see, and there's another one on the other side, kind of hard to see. So you got 4 screws, and then you have to lift up on the whole unit. I get in the viewfinder here. I'm trying to look at what I'm doing, not my screen. And I closed my glove box to show you that I can close my glove box, and my wires are getting in the way. You don't really have to disconnect this in order to do this, and because you're not really going to have this radio out. You can leave this connected, but it's really easy to do if you leave your glove box open. If you leave your glove box open, you can sit this on your glove box. So, all right, so like I said, trying to do this in view this time instead of looking down. You don't have to unplug this. You just lay it up here on the glove box out of the way. But right now it's in my way because I can't get the radio out. You have to lift this up a little bit, and it might be because I'm trying to do it with the phone in my hand. But you take the two screws out here and here, and this comes out. And I thought there was 3 connectors on this. There's only 2. One there and one here, and this will determine what unit you have, what AVIN unit you get, because if you get the CIC, it's a different connector. These are great when you have 2 hands. You can get these connectors when you have 2 hands. I can't seem to get it, and I'm just going to leave it there until I put the phone down. So pull this out, you just flip it, rotate it up, and it comes out. And these 4 screws down here, you got to take that, lift it up, and then pull it out. And then we're going to get into the wiring and why the AVIN stuff is not really all it's cracked up to be. I'm disappointed, but to each his own, I guess. It works for some. I'm a little too OCD for me, because you squash the connectors back in there, and eventually something's gonna fail, because there's not enough room in there for all the stuff that they put in there. Okay, so I got the connectors off, this one and this one. I just tuck those back up in there for now. And this little valley in through here, this is where a lot of your wires are going to go. This right in here, that's where your wires should go, because if you have them in the way of this, like I retaped all of my connectors up because I didn't want the wires hanging out to get in the way when you put this stuff back. If the wires are all taped up, they don't get in the way. So this is the wiring harness for the bottom radio, and this is a fan wire for this fan right here. Fan wire. One of these is to GPS, and the other one is to maybe just regular antenna. I'm not really sure. This fiber optic cable right here. This one, you have to pull this one out. The green and the black covered wire, they're fiber optic. You have to actually disconnect them from the connector here and relocate this connector into the other connector that you come in the AVIN unit, right? So you'll see the fiber optic there at the bottom, and they're labeled 1 and 2. The rest is literally just the different color wires I have in the back here. You got 2, 4, 5, power, ground, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 wires, and then the fiber optic that you should relocate to the new one. And yeah, so I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. Instead of using the whole big connector, I am going to rewire this connector using the AVIN wiring harness, and then we'll run that, because back in there's just not enough room for this big connector connected to another connector that's then connected to the back of the radio. So I'm going to show you how I do it. Okay, so there's a couple of things wrong with the wiring on this. First and foremost, all that white, did you see? The white with the black stripe? That is the speaker wire Because I have a factory speaker, and it is right here, and it goes back up in there. And what I was under the impression is that connector right there is going to be on the end of this wire, and it's not. That's what it looks like instead. So it is only 2 wires, but I can't connect this up to my factory system, and I was really under the impression that that's how that was going to happen. They gave me a big old speaker, but I told them I had factory speaker navigation and all that when I ordered this thing, and they still gave me the extra stuff that I don't need. And the wire's 12 feet long, I think, which is crazy. All right, so a real quick rundown on this. I retaped this up because I was going to give it to my son, and I wanted to put it back the way it was. But he wants a little more storage space on the main computer because he does the iPhone stuff. I have a Samsung, so and I'm 50 years old, so I'm not big into that. So I have factory rear camera, so I won't need this. I could literally just cut those out of the harness and just get rid of them entirely. Yeah, this green wire here, and it goes out to the AVIN unit, green wires, and then the purple wires come back in. If I said that right. Yeah, because this attaches to the radio. Right, this attaches to the radio, this here. So the green wires come back in from the AVIN unit back into the main body of the radio. And it comes from the wiring harness, into the purple wires, out to the AVIN unit, to the purple wires here, and they go into the back of there, the big connector. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to cut the wires that are associated with this. I'm going to splice in power. I'm going to splice in ground off of the red and the gray, and then the brown. Red and gray is power, brown is ground in Germany. So that's take care of those two. And then the audio visual is the purple wires and the green wires. And that essentially is the only thing that I have going out to the radio, to the AVIN unit, because I'm using factory GPS. I'm using my own speaker. I have a backup camera. I don't need all of this wire here. I don't need any of this wire here. None of this. So I have 6 wires. The 6 wires here are going to go into this connector. I'll have to splice 2 wires. These 2 wires that you see here, those were like that from the factory. They were cut and just stuck in the harness. I guess it's an option that I don't have or don't need. The orange wire back there was hanging out like that. I think that's going to the CD changer that's in my glove box. I'm not positive. I don't care. CD changer works. I don't ever use it, but it works. So, yeah. I'm gonna have to splice in my GPS, because I do have a GPS splitter, which is kind of annoying because my GPS splitter, I'll be right back. My GPS splitter, you can see the 2 ends down there come up to a splitter up here. Now, why does that make sense? Anybody tell me why that makes sense? Because the splitter, all it's doing is it's taking this connection right here. Let's see if I can get this out with you guys watching. It takes this connection here, and this goes into here. Right? That goes in there. And then it goes right back into the radio. So this section here, one of these, only has to be 3 inches long. That's it. 3 inches. You take all this extra wire, Take all this extra wire that they stuck on the one that you don't need that crazy amount, and stick it on the other one, because you have to run it from here all the way up through and behind here, all the way back up into here, and it goes to there. And guess where that's going to sit? Yeah, right in there. So you need a wire that runs all the way down and then hides all the way back in there. Even if you guys watch this video, you guys need to tighten up your shot group, man. I mean, let's think logically here. The connector is here. The connector that connects that is there. After that, it goes right back to there. It doesn't need to be, what is this, 2 feet long for that section? The other one needs to be 3.5 feet long. Okay, rant over with that one. This is the other thing. So this is the connector here that goes, and it's supposed to sit way back in down there. I'm going to fix that little problem though. Then you have all of this wire, and it goes to a power box. And then you have this little short section here, and that's got to go from back in there all the way up through here, up through the center, and attached to the back into that big plug right there. So when I installed this the last time, or attempted to install this last time, there is a cubby hole like right back up in here, and I had that thing hidden back up in there, and I had it pulled so tight up into here that this connector would just barely connect up into there if I ran it up through the center, because I just don't have enough wire from that big fuse box looking thing that you can't fit back in through here anywhere. There's just not enough room for something this huge. A little tiny fuse box. Now granted, there is a circuit board in here, so I don't know what this circuit board really does, but it's got probably a transformer, diode, cleans up the voltage probably. But you know, if you're gonna put this thing in here, and I'm quite honestly, I'm really tempted to desolder these wires, and since I have to splice into power anyway, I relocate that thing down here, hide it out of the way, back where I have more room. I do have a little bit more room back in there, but it's sticking it over here, you know, with like this much wire off of this connector. That's all you need. That would be perfect. Oh, one more thing real quick. This is the connector you're going to get for a CCC unit, and that plugs into this. CIC unit, you don't have a wire that sticks out like this. Your CIC unit has a connector that's right back in there. So you connect your plug up back into there. And alright, I'll be right back. Purple wiring harness, green connector. Okay, so, and then I got my splitter run, and I have that sticking up through here. I'm trying to get everything squared away where I can put the screen in, and then I'll be done with that. And then that's only this connector here, that connector for the speaker, which is this white wire here, I've already stripped out. And I was thinking about stealing that connector and just splicing it in, but I don't want to cut this. So I'm just going to tuck this down in there. And I might just pull that connector apart and then put the wires down in there. And then if I get the screen done, then I just have to deal with the splice of the wires down here. And I did figure out that it's that green one in the center, and then that orange one with whatever color stripe that is. Those two right there. So I just connected these up. I didn't solder the small wires because I have this crimp connection set up. Whoa, zoom in. And when this thing gets done, then I'll just ruin one here real quick. I have so many of these things. Focus. When you crimp this thing down with the wire in it, it creates this this ripple effect. Crimped it down, put the heat shrink over top of it, and yeah, it's not going to go anywhere. Now for the ground and the hot, I soldered them. I put them together. I got one of those little yellow butt connectors. I got rid of the plastic off the yellow butt connector, and I just I fed this really thin 0.031, and it gets down. It could get down in the hole because those butt connectors have a centerpiece in them. So I don't know why, but whatever. So I had scrunched all the wires in there. The yellows were a little bit big, but it gave me room on this side over here for the power wire. I'm going to heat shrink it, and then I'm going to tape these up individually. Get on there. So I have a little bit extra over here, just to cover up, and then a lot of extra on the other side because that's where the wire is going to be pulling. And I'm just using a lighter for that. So I think I got 3 connectors in the fiber optic I got to put in. I disconnected the fiber optic because you don't want to be tugging on this. And these are numbered. Let's see if I can see the numbers on them. So you saw the connector had numbers on them. There it is. 2 on that side, 1 on that side. And then the corresponding 2 and 1 are on the front. 2 and 1. See the 2 and 1 down at the bottom? And that's where it goes. So 1's got to match up with 1, 2's got to match up with 2. If not, your transmit and receive are going to be backwards. And things don't like to work sometimes when they're backwards. I had to do the ground first because I was going to do the hot first. As soon as I did the hot, the AVIN unit came on. I'm like, well, let me do the ground first because I don't know what kind of grounds that's got going through it, and I didn't want to fry the brand new AVIN unit because it doesn't have proper ground. So I did the ground first, which was a little scary. I have fried a radio before because I didn't have ground hooked up first. Yeah, I'm almost done. It did come on, so I know it works. And I'll give a little bit of recap once I get all this, the couple little things I have left to do. Shove everything back in there. I know it's going to fit now because I only have just the one connector and then the rest are wires. Yep, and we'll see how it looks after we're done. Alright, so I taped up the wires, connected them up. I did the big plug last. Put it in place, dropped it in, and it went up tight against the mounting surface perfectly, and it didn't seem like there was anything binding in the back, and that's supposed to do that, by the way. If you don't know what system you have, you'll have it right there. It'll say CCC, or it might say CIC module. I'm not sure what the CIC module is going to say in this place, but if you have a CCC right here, then that's the kind of system that you need to get. And of course, you can go on Google and just see what the screen's supposed to look like. The CIC looks way better than the older ones. I have an 09, so I do hear that you can just swap this out, and the screen and I think the button, I'm not quite sure, and then you can upgrade to the CIC module system with no problem. But now that all this is actually connected up, hopefully this thing will actually turn on for me. Looks a little weird, I'm gonna say that right off the bat. I'm not sure. I might have to go through some settings and see why it looks the way it does. Hey, my radio works. Well, there you go. That looks way better than it did. And yeah, you touch the screen and it goes to this, and I think if you touch the screen again, it goes back to uh, cancel this out. I gotta do that later. Yeah, so I have to adjust the screen. It's not set correctly, but it's talking to me. Oh, he's telling me my door's open. I'll have to turn that off. So I got this little guy over here. He's yelling at me. Yeah, I have my door open. Let's see if that'll go away. Hey, it did. Good. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go through the settings. Wow, I got a lot to learn on this one. So maybe I might do something like that later on. So I'm gonna put the trim back. Hook up my vent. I probably should pull the glove box out and find out why my vent over here is not closing off correctly for straight air conditioning. My side over here, I get ice cold air conditioning, but this side over here doesn't seem like it's closing for air conditioning only. Like there's something in the way, or the linkage is broken, and it's only halfway going to air conditioning. And it's a common problem with these E70s. They'll have hot on one side and ice cold on the other. And the first thing people say is it's the heater valve inside the engine bay. It's not. I'm here to tell you it's not, because I changed out my heater valve and I still have warm over here and ice cold over here. So here again, the internet is doing people wrong. But we'll figure it out. So there's a linkage way over on this side. If I take the glove box out, I can probably access it. And it controls whether it goes through the heater core or goes through the evaporator. And I believe it is not closing off the heater core completely and pulling in just my evaporator cold air. So I have to look at that. This is the better way to install it, although it took me considerably more time. And my little buddy down here is yelling at me. I guess he wants to go in and eat, which is not a bad idea. I've been out here way too long. I don't even know what time it is. It's 11:10. There you go. That's my method of install. Get rid of this stupid connector that I threw down on the floor down here. Get rid of that. Just take the wires you need, and then if you know how to solder, that's great. If you don't, get somebody else to help you out with it or something like that. But yeah, I like this method better. All right, this is 8 minutes. I think I probably had like 20 minutes on the first one. I don't make this video crazy long, and this is just because I'm doing it differently than everybody else. It took me about a minute or two to put the rest of this back together, a couple screws and the air thing, and connect it up. And I'm gonna move this out of the garage, close my garage up, and then I'm gonna try to get this video posted ASAP. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think. Yeah, after the car sits for a while, those will close automatically, just to keep air that's outside. It's pretty smart. So, all right. Hope that you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up, likes, all that good stuff. I'm not on anybody else, Instagram, Facebook. Oh no, yeah, Facebook, the Twitter, none of that stuff. I don't even know how to spell Twitter. So yeah, it's just a YouTube thing for me. I'm too old to do that other stuff. Yeah. So if this is an E70 09, there's something you want to see, let me know, and I'll see if I can pull it apart, tear it apart, do whatever you need to look at. If it's not already on YouTube, and I'll see what I can do to try to get it uploaded. All right, very good. Y'all be safe out there. Enjoy.